our way to Mullion this morning on the Lizard, south-west Cornwall. It's a bit of a grey day, a little bit drizzly. I think we might be lucky. Thank you.
You've always got to start with a little cup of tea.
So here we are, cold December day. Tomorrow is the shortest day of the winter.
I always feel really pleased when the shortest day is out the way. I want the longer nights.
Yeah, and it's a cold one. We've got a cold easterly wind blowing down the valley into Mullion, out to sea.
Yes.
And
I've got my high-vis jacket on in case I get swept out to sea.
In case the fog comes in.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of our title, Taking It Home.
I think it first came about, there's a lot of the little ports and harbours, the west of Cornwall, and Tony had invited us, and I was watching the fishing boats coming in, bringing in the catch, the importance of the journey that those fishermen had been on.
Yeah. And I remember, actually now I can remember you saying that and saying that imagery actually is what I remember you talking about for the film.
Yes.
Because it's quite powerful. Making it home safely, which isn't always a taken for granted thing when you're a fisherman.
No. And as autoethnographers, we're aware that we're shaped by the environment that we're in. How is it shaping me to understand the world in certain ways? And very much here, we have these safe places, these safe ports.
Like a harbour.
Like a harbour.
Just for a little bit of private shelter.
But also as you're talking there, what's coming to mind, at the top of the beach there, we've got fishing boats. And they're, in this big sea, they're really tiny. They're so small, so fragile.
Yeah, I've seen bigger jacuzzis than some of those boats.
Yes. And we are asking each other when we write autoethnographically to talk about something that is really personal, really often we're fragile, we're vulnerable, and to lay that out in a hostile sea. And I think we're like those fishing boats. Time and time again we go out into uncharted waters, around the islands, around the coast, around the rugged rocks. We are like these little fishing boats bobbing up and down. Never
knowing for sure if we're going to get back sometimes, in my experience. Can we make it back safely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
what's it going to do to us writing about these things?
Yeah. And, we have something. And recently we've had several emails from people who are on the beginnings of their autoethnographic journey. And they're saying, is this an autoethnography? Am I doing it right? And I feel that they're setting out from that little harbour out into the sea to try and catch something and bring it back. And we want to reflect on what type of a harbour do we want to be for those novices coming in. How can we help and nurture them?
Well, it's not just novices, is it?
But no, of course. And in our own work, we need that too.
I mean, you said a few minutes reflecting on the landscape that had shaped you and how different the UK is to North America, how different North America is to Asia, how different Asia is to Australia or Africa, other parts of Europe. And Cornwall is very different to Devon, the next county along. It's only less than 100 miles away. And I suppose, in some ways started thinking about this kind of scenery, and very much this would be where we'd shoot the video for it. But with your song Fisherwoman, one of the first songs of yours I sort of fell in love with, still one of my favourite of your songs, that I understand as an autoethnography.
Yeah.
But I suppose maybe at the time I wasn't sure how much it was autobiographical, how much it was imaginative, how much it was based on other people's lives as well.
I think one of the things that you've provoked me to think about is where songs come from and what are their genesis. And I certainly feel when I first started writing autoethnography, I'd just come out of playing professional sport.
She's got a very good attitude, very calm sort of attitude when she's in a winning situation. Very good player on this sort of tight golf course.
So Kitrina's interesting. She didn't start the game until she was 17, did she? She was very late, really.
And I was really aware that my life had been portrayed in the newspapers in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
I was mowing down the opposition, I was marching to titles. They had me like this soldier firing cannons off all over the place. And I didn't feel it captured my life in professional sport at all. I think it injured who I felt I was and how others might perceive me by the way the newspapers write. So I think I was on a mission to write about the things in professional sport that would destabilise those types of visions of language. And so the golf course was where I situated my first autoethnographies, but they weren't necessarily all the things I needed to write about or wanted to write about or felt able to write about.
Well, by the time I got to know you 20 years ago, you were off the golf course. You know, I don't know if we could have become friends with you being a golfer still. You know,
but maybe that's because you thought I was firing cannons, mowing people down, and that's how sports people are.
It was definitely shaped by the cultural realities of sport and golf and my expectations of success in sport and how that's portrayed in the narrative, the dominant narratives of our societies, definitely. But I didn't, when I met you, when we were studying together, that's not what I experienced. So it wasn't particularly a surprise to hear about a different Kitrina in a song like Fisherwoman.
So it wasn't a song that had a message or something to prove. It was a song in search of a body to communicate it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that sense from that song. Some songs I do feel like someone's trying to get a message across. Some sort of issue songs or political songs work more as issues or politics than they do as song. Some get both, but Fisherwoman I feel is more, I feel and sense and hear the seeking in the singer.
Yeah.
The writer is looking for something themselves, perhaps, I don't know, but there is a sense of, I don't know where this is going to go, but neither does the singer.
And I went fishing. I wasn't, and I don't think rarely have I ever thought, I'm going to write a song today. And I thought, well, will I write the song about the sea and a harbour and coming home? Or I was just singing songs. And then I had a rhythm that came out of spending time with the guitar, as you've talked about. You have to spend time with the instrument, and I liked the rhythm, and the rhythm said, this is a story that's ready to be told. And it wasn't me. I wasn't writing about myself. I was just, these are the words that seem to fit this rhythm. And you've talked about there being songs and guitars, and so this place, objects, again, I'm on a bench, I'm by the sea, in a place that I feel myself, in ways that when I'm somewhere else I don't necessarily feel myself. So I might have played golf, but I was playing a part very much.
There aren't right words for it, but a state or a place where you can access something else, so the lyrics come as a surprise out of the noise of the music, the rhythm, the chords, the sound. Like you said, it's a guitar made just, it's less, the guitar was made 90 miles away from here, you know, in Devon, wasn't it? It was made from woods grown in the southwest of England, made by shapers that are from here. The guitar is of this place as well, even. I think those things can matter sometimes, can be important. Quite often when I'm writing as well, I don't know who I'm writing about, whether it's a participant in our research. And I think that's actually really fertile, that blurring.
Yes.
That's Claudio and Marcello's work in between you know, when you're writing a song, you're in between voices and characters. And that can be useful, I think, can be quite a fertile place.
I think this is a very important line. Obviously, there can be all types of different autoethnographies and narratives. But when we leave things open to interpretation and don't nail things down, And when we follow the characters, I think it does open it up for other people to inhabit. And certainly when I'm writing, I don't want to write people off. I don't want to cement their stories. I don't want to close books. I'm very aware with that song, more maybe than any other. It was one of the first songs I wrote that I felt pleased about, but I couldn't finish it. I didn't have the ending, and I really struggled with that for weeks. How do we fit? What are the last lines of a song?
And how did it resolve?
I think possibly a dream came to me when I wasn't focusing on it. The last lines are...
The island, it had made her strong, her spirit wild, her hair kept long. Years of working by the sea taught her that she must stay free. But at night she dreamt of flying high. In the arms of a lover she would try to feel the tender sweet touch and the kiss. But that's the thing she did miss. Hands made callous by the oars, pulling nets around these shores, proving locals they were wrong. This was her world and she did belong. But at night she dreamt of flying high. In the arms of a lover she would try to feel the tender sweet touch and the kiss. But that's the thing she did miss. Time was knocking at her door, and of that she was sure. But fire burned within her soul. Could she restore what the sea had stolen? One night she slipped out from the shore, became both history and folklore. But of the tender sweet touch and the kiss, was that the thing she did miss? Was that the thing?
So I've been thinking about our title of Taking It Home. So that came about for me as one of the last lyrics in the song It's Alright, which I wrote during a moment of respite, really, during the lockdown last summer, 2020. And I suppose part of that song was a sense of being home. The last verse of the song was during a pandemic, during the lockdown, during the isolation, the separate lives that we were all leading, was you're grooving, you're dancing, you're not on your own, rebuilding, returning, and you're taking it home. And it was that connection back to that from a year or so ago when you said, okay, that's the imagery I have for this, for our keynote and for the film, of the boats coming back. It's taking it home.
Yes.
So I think we talked about coming home, but I love this I don't know where it came from in the song, but the idea that whatever we have now, this alrightness, this moment of feeling okay, I'm taking this home with me. This is going to be, it is okay, you know. And musically, in the history of popular music, it's very close to one of the most key soul records of all time. The Sam Cooke song, legendary soul singer from America, Bring It On Home. So the song Bring It On Home to Me, that's been covered by dozens of artists, was originally written and performed by Sam Cooke, is a connection as well that I like for this conference, being the conference in Florida, or would be in Florida if we were able. You know,
We would be in Florida.
the United States.
Yes.
You know, it's a rich history of music, the origins of soul music. So I'm from England, you know, if I'm not really a soul singer, although I like to think the music has soul. So I can't sing Bring It On Home to Me. Sam Cooke's already got that one. But Taking It Home is, I suppose, my little version of that. And now looking back on it, it's a nod to that heritage of music as well.
Within that title, you're not just going home, it's taking it home.
Yeah. It's so hard to talk about things in songs, isn't it? It's that thing so often we come up against. That's partly why the song exists, because I can't put it into words in another form. So that's perhaps part of the impulse to write about my life in a song, in a music. So it's just appeared, as you were talking about Fisherwoman, coming out of the guitar and the rhythm, the chords. I'm lost in the chords and the rhythm of that song. I'm lost in the energies of that moment, the thrill of playing the guitar, making a noise. You know, I was playing in a wooden beach house. You know, everything's reverberating, the floorboards, my foot's going, the guitar's alive. I'm alive for a moment, you know. I'm not often alive, you know, in that way. So those words have just come, and they made me smile when they came. I love it. You're grooving, you're dancing, you're not on your own. For once, you're not on your own after all this, in the midst of all this. Rebuilding, returning, and you're taking it home. And that's making me smile now. I've got a rough old recording of it that I did outside the little beach house in the dunes. Got sunglasses on, it's a hot June day. Just recorded it on my phone. Sounds very crude. But when I sing that line, I smile. There is something in it, yeah.
And how important to just have a little smile while everything has been going on over the last couple of years. It's not just the climate disaster, it's not just the viruses that we're threatening, it's doom and disaster everywhere, it seems.
Yeah, and I have a degree of guilt about feeling okay about anything at a time of when so many people are struggling and suffering so much. I needed to tell myself it's all right because I was in a state of not all rightness in the gravest way I've experienced. So it was really important to communicate to my nervous system that it's all right at the moment. You can relax. You can at least not panic and be calm and let things just quieten down, come back to ground, come back to earth. So I needed to tell myself, and it's not telling, it's like giving myself the hug, the bath, that it's all right. But I am somewhat guilty about saying it's all right when I know that it's not all right in many ways for many people at the moment, particularly.
I was going to say that there's another part of the song where you touch on trust.
Well, there are 3 characters in that song, I can see now. This isn't something that I started out planning, or it's not something that I was even aware of until months after writing the song. But there's a she in the first verse. And she knows that she's held, and she believes in love. Which is how I want to be.
Yes.
I want to be that person too, but I'm not at the moment. In the second verse, it's a different character. It's a he, and he's hurting, he's hiding, he's still behind safe walls. But he's learning and he's growing and he's beginning to trust.
Yeah.
And then the final verse, I like to think of it now as an opening up. So that one's a you,
Yes.
So that one's singing to the people listening to the song. That one's anyone who's got the time to listen. And it's I suppose looking back at it, it's where I'd like to be, where I want the people I care about to be, people listening to the song to be not on their own, to be taking it home.
I like in a song that there's lots of different ways to communicate that. So you have the words that help people on that journey navigate that water.
Yeah.
And then you have the melody, which is also touching our bodies in different ways and supporting that telling.
And I suppose thinking about writing, the methodology of songwriting as autoethnography or as a form of narrative inquiry, as arts-based research, it almost is an unmethodology because it feels like you're doing it different every time. But there are some core strands going on there.
It's really funny because I was thinking that this morning. When we're going out to film something like this, we want it to be in the moment, and I'm so drawn to, well, I just need some notes. I want to write something down. And I think of so many students, they say, well, tell me what I have to do, and if I get that right, I'll have done it. And then that stops our bodies giving up their secrets. We have to trust that to happen as well.
Yes. And that is definitely a strong strand in songwriting for me. That was the first way I was able to get behind the everyday chatter of my mind, the stories I'm telling myself all the time. That was a way to get out of that, the conscious, rational mind, my own cultural biases, prejudices. Songwriting, somehow bashing away on a guitar, making a god-awful noise sometimes, was a way for me to tune into different stories and different kinds of stories that I didn't necessarily understand, that I didn't know where they came from, that I didn't necessarily know what they meant at that time. Maybe I did later, maybe I still don't. But I know that for me, they matter, that they're important, and they are different. They're counter stories.
Yes. And that trusting, I think, it seems to be something that is important now. As I'm thinking, and as we're creating this to autoethnographers and storytellers and within narrative, we have to trust. We have to go out. You have to set sail and trust that we'll bring something home. Not try and tighten it all down so we're sure about it, because we might miss the catch.
Yeah, no, nice. And the question then is, trust what? And that, I suppose, is what I've maybe taken as personally meaningful from my yoga teachers and meditation teachers. Trust the practice.
Yes.
I can't decide whether I can trust what I'm creating or not.
Yes.
I don't know. But I know that by doing the work, getting on my yoga mat, kneeling to meditate, picking up a guitar, and just going with it, just enjoying the playing, even if I can't think of anything to sing, just enjoy the sound of the guitar, making that noise. Trust, that's where I need to put my trust for this work, I think.
Well, I've just learned something.
Recently, I've started thinking of songwriting as yoga with a guitar. Both feel like a way of accessing, bringing into the open, making available to consciousness, age-old truths held deeply within my being. In her song Compassion, Lucinda Williams quotes her father, the poet Miller Williams, when she sings, "You do not know what wars are going on down there where the spirit meets the bone." Well, through both songwriting and yoga, I think we begin to find out. This aspect of songmaking is familiar to narrative researchers, how in an interview, through interaction, a participant might express something of the realities of their life. They share, recount, reveal. We discover, learn, see anew. But the other side of the narrative gift is that through telling stories of our lives, we might also create ourselves, our identity. As we form our story, we transform ourselves. I saw this happening when I started playing gigs in my early 20s, playing my songs to small audiences in bars and cafes. I became aware that the David I was singing in my songs was more appealing to me than the David I saw reflected back at me in everyday life. I liked myself more in song. I made a me that I felt better about, happier with. I transformed myself. I find it comforting that once a song is written, it stays written. You can play your song over and over again. You can sing it whenever you feel you need it. Through the singing and the playing, you get to transform yourself again and again. Recording a song makes further transformation possible. When we recorded It's Alright, we began with rhythm guitar and vocal. At that moment, these two performances were fixed in time, digitally encoded in Pro Tools. We added bass. Then we overdubbed the second rhythm guitar. Then backing vocals, numerous Kitrinas pooled to form a choir through the marvels of multitracking. Finally, several months later, we added electric guitar. The addition of each new part altered the previous performances. What had been fixed in time was transformed. Each new contribution remade the song in some way. Each part brought new energy, new intensity, new emotion, new colour, new depth. The song becomes more than it was. I become more than I was. She's watching, she's waiting, she's behind that door. She knows that she's held and she believes in love. I see you, I see you, I see your fall. It's alright, it's alright, it's all right. He's hurting, he's hiding, still behind safe walls. He's learning, he's growing, he's beginning to trust. I hear you, I hear you, I hear your song. It's alright, it's alright, it's all right, yeah. You're dancing, you're not on your own. You're turning, rebuilding, now you're taking it home. We see you, we hear you, we know you all. It's alright, it's alright, it's alright.